I think love of work, in my experience, can at best make one halfway happy.
Elon Musk has always been known as a man obsessed with work, a man who treats the world like a problem to be solved. And when a man has that much money, power, and influence, it becomes easy to believe that almost anything can be bought, even silence. But Ashley St. Clair may have become one problem he could not simply make disappear. She was not a Hollywood star. She was not one of the world's most powerful women. She was a conservative media figure who suddenly found herself standing across from the richest man on earth, refusing an alleged $15 million deal that could have kept everything quiet. Instead, she sold her car, stepped away from the lifestyle people thought she wanted, and walked into a legal fight where the odds were clearly against her. So why did she do it? Was Ashley St. Clair trying to reclaim her power, expose the truth, or did she gamble everything on a battle she could not win? To understand that choice, we have to go back to who she was before the headlines, the girl who built an empire on beliefs. Few know that before becoming the center of paternity rumors, Ashley St. Clair was a rising star in media and politics. Born on July 31, 1998, in Florida and raised in Colorado, she studied philosophy and political science at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Even as a college student, she stepped into the political arena, representing her school's Turning Point USA chapter in public debates. The organization quickly elevated her to brand ambassador, handing her a platform and a national audience at a very young age. In 2019, things hit a wall. Photos surfaced showing her standing alongside white nationalists Nicholas Fuentes and Tim Gianet. She stepped down from her ambassador role, claiming she was entirely unaware of their views at the time. Controversy trailed her, but it didn't kill her career. She pivoted to working for the Babylon Bee, a right-wing satire site. Initially a writer, she later moved up to operations manager. This role helped sharpen her voice and expand her influence. She became a sought-after speaker on college campuses, commanding anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 per event. In 2021, she published a children's book titled Elephants Are Not Birds. The story follows an elephant named Kevin who is convinced he's a bird. Many read it as a critique of gender ideology. The book shot to #1 on Amazon's children's satire chart. By 2023, she had surpassed 1 million followers on X, appeared on Fox News, and publicly endorsed Donald Trump. From the outside looking in, her life was a carefully curated brand built on conservative values. There's one detail that seems deeply ironic in hindsight. Back in 2020, she tweeted a joke about wanting to get Musk's attention. At the time, it was just a gag. No one could have predicted it would come true in a way she herself never saw coming. In the spring of 2023, Musk started engaging with her posts. As she later told the New York Post, he reached out via direct message after noticing her content. He then invited her to X's San Francisco headquarters following a business trip she had in the city. The relationship escalated quickly after that, accompanied by getaways, including flights on his private jet. According to the lawsuit she later filed, their romantic relationship began around May 2023. Their child was conceived in January 2024. But what really happened behind closed doors and what she was asked to do to stay quiet forever only came to light when she chose to speak out. The Valentine's Night post that shook the internet. The baby was born in September 2024. For the first few months, almost no one knew he existed. His father was mostly absent, and Ashley kept the child away from the public eye while trying to handle a situation she had never imagined facing alone. Each night, as she watched her baby sleep, she likely wondered what he would ask one day when he was old enough to understand who his father was. Then, on February 14, 2025, everything changed. Ashley posted a statement on X that immediately stopped a huge part of the internet in its tracks. Her wording was direct, careful, and controlled. She said that 5 months earlier she had welcomed a child, and that Elon Musk was the father. She explained that she had not gone public sooner because she wanted to protect her baby's privacy and safety. But by then, tabloids were preparing to publish the story anyway. So before the press could take control of the narrative, she chose to tell it herself. Musk's first public reaction came down to one word: "Whoa!" At the same time, another user shared a screenshot of an old joke Ashley had posted in 2020, and Musk interacted with it. To many people, that moment felt painfully cold. On the very day Ashley announced their child to the world, the richest man on earth seemed more interested in joking around with an old post than addressing the child himself. Ashley pushed back directly, pointing out that the same account Musk had just engaged with had previously posted images of her in her underwear when she was only 15. At the time of her announcement, Musk had not yet been legally established as the father. On February 21, 2025, Ashley filed 2 petitions in New York County Supreme Court. One requested sole custody. The other sought to legally establish Musk's paternity. In April 2025, LabCorp results showed a 99.9999% probability that Musk was the father. That same month, Ashley gave a detailed interview to the Wall Street Journal, where she described how Musk's private world seemed to operate behind the scenes. After the baby was born, Musk's wealth manager, Jared Burchell, reached out to her and suggested keeping Musk's name off the birth certificate for security reasons. Ashley agreed to that, but she did not agree to erase the truth forever. According to her account, Burchell later presented a formal arrangement. She would receive a $15 million upfront payment plus $100,000 a month if she signed a non-disclosure agreement. He also warned her that taking the legal route would not end well. Ashley refused. She said she did not want her son to grow up feeling like he was a secret, and that number deserves a moment of silence. $15 million is life-changing money for almost anyone. It could buy a home, security, privacy, and a future. But for the richest man in the world, it is barely a rounding error. So the real question is not whether Musk could afford it. The real question is why silence was worth that much. A child, a mother, and the truth were all being reduced to a price tag. That number did not feel like generosity. It felt like a measure of how dangerous the truth had become. Then came one of the strangest details Ashley shared. She said Musk had urged her to have more children. According to her, he told her that to reach what he called Legion level before the apocalypse, they would need to use a surrogate. He reportedly wanted at least 10 children with her alone. So what happens when a woman says no to the richest man on the planet? The empire strikes back. Choosing the legal route against Elon Musk came with costs Ashley St. Clair had not fully calculated. At first, rejecting the alleged hush money offer may have looked like a moral stand, but almost immediately it became the spark that turned a private conflict into an open war. And according to Ashley, that war came in 2 waves. The first threatened her financial survival. The second went after something even more personal, her dignity. The first wave was money. On March 31, 2025, paparazzi photographed Ashley selling her Tesla outside a Manhattan apartment. She did not hide the reason. She said Musk had cut her child support by 60%, a move she described as punishment for refusing to obey. Musk's side argued that he had already paid millions while waiting for the court to decide. But for Ashley, the issue was not just a number on paper. It was rent, security, stability, and the fear of being pushed to the edge. That was why 2025 became, in her words, an unexpected career setback. Instead of enjoying the visibility that came with being connected to one of the most famous men in the world, she found herself hustling to keep her Bad Advice podcast alive and trying to rebuild her income under public pressure. The second attack was even more brutal because it was not just about money, it was about humiliation. Ashley became the target of AI-generated pornography created through Grok, the AI tool owned by xAI. Even images of her when she was only 14 were allegedly manipulated into malicious deepfakes. At that point, the fight was no longer simply about support payments or legal documents. It became a battle over her body, her image, and her right to exist without being digitally violated. And in the middle of that storm, Musk's distance from the child only made the situation feel colder. According to Ashley, he saw his son just 3 times over several months, for less than 4 hours in total. That absence became one of the most painful details in the entire story. To Ashley, it suggested that the child was not being treated as a son who needed love, presence, and consistency, but as another piece in a much larger personal and legal strategy. The breaking point came in January 2026. After Ashley publicly apologized for past statements and appeared to reference the painful rift between Musk and his daughter Vivian Wilson, Musk responded by filing for full custody. He accused her of intending to gender transition their son. It was also the first time he publicly acknowledged Romulus as his child on X. But Ashley's story does not stand alone. When viewed against the broader pattern of Musk's personal life, it begins to look like part of a much larger machine. The women who enter his orbit often find themselves facing the same harsh script: power, pressure, control, and public consequence. And that repetition reveals a disturbing truth about the cost of getting too close to the most powerful man on the planet. The shadow of power. Ashley St. Clair never set out to become a whistleblower inside the machinery of Elon Musk's private life. At first, this seemed like a personal dispute. But the deeper she moved into the legal fight, the more she appeared to expose something much larger than one relationship. What emerged was a picture of a world built around control. According to her account, the mothers of Musk's children were not simply treated as former partners or independent parents. They were managed, conversations were filtered, decisions passed through intermediaries. And standing at the center of that system was Jared Burchell, Musk's longtime wealth manager, who seemed to operate as the gatekeeper, the negotiator, and the protector of the billionaire's private world. The financial offer St. Clair allegedly received did not sound like a one-time exception. It sounded like a process. When Burchell suggested that others had signed similar agreements, it raised a disturbing question. Was this not just about Ashley, but about a larger system where silence had a price, children became legal complications, and motherhood was something to be contained? Romulus's birth was only one piece of a much bigger pattern in Musk's personal life. Over the years, ex-wives, partners, and mothers of his children have all been pulled into the orbit of a man whose resources are almost impossible to fight. In that orbit, money does not just provide comfort. It can also create pressure, isolation, and dependence. And even Musk's children have not been untouched by that shadow. His estrangement from his daughter Vivian Wilson showed the world that when extreme power collides with family pain, the damage does not stay private forever. In a world governed by non-disclosure agreements, private settlements, and carefully managed narratives, people can begin to look less like free individuals and more like problems to be controlled. That is what made St. Clair's turn so striking. She had once admired the very ideology surrounding Musk's empire. But when she found herself inside it, she appeared to discover that loyalty, visibility, and even motherhood could not protect her from the cold machinery she once helped defend. Epilogue. The aftermath. In the end, what Ashley St. Clair did went far beyond confirming a pregnancy. She made a choice that most people in her position would have struggled to make. She walked away from a staggering amount of money, the kind of money that could have solved almost every practical problem in her life, in exchange for one thing: the right to speak. That decision came with a heavy price. Going up against someone with nearly limitless resources damaged her finances, disrupted her career, and pushed her into a fight she was never expected to win. But it also became the moment she redefined herself. The former children's book author and conservative commentator slowly disappeared from the center of the story. In her place stood a mother who was willing to risk comfort, reputation, and personal safety so her son would not have to grow up as a secret, hidden in the dark. That is why this story became bigger than one woman, one billionaire, or one child. It became a case study in power, silence, and freedom. The patterns Ashley described, from alleged hush money offers to limited contact with his own child, point to a world where wealth does not just protect privacy. It can shape narratives, pressure people into silence, and distort basic moral values. And the greatest irony is where the truth began to unravel. It happened on X itself, the very platform Musk owns, in front of the same public he so often tries to influence. Now, Romulus, a child carrying the name of a legendary founder, stands at the center of this storm. One day, when he is old enough to ask what really happened, his mother will have an answer she can stand behind. She will be able to say that when money was offered in exchange for silence, she chose his dignity instead. Because money may buy comfort. It may buy lawyers, headlines, and silence. But it has never been able to buy the truth. And when Ashley St. Clair was forced to choose between a gilded cage and a harder life with her voice intact, she chose the road that allowed her to live with herself. So what about you? If you were standing at that same crossroads, what would you choose? Would you take the money and disappear, or would you risk everything to protect your voice and your peace of mind? Leave your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more stories like this.